Welcome back to the Sick Pup YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be talking about a topic that I think is super interesting, and I've just been thinking about it a lot lately. I've been kind of noticing a lot about it, and I think it'd be fun to talk about it. And that's what this YouTube channel is, you know, a little outlet for me to talk about whatever I want and do whatever I want. So let me give you the rundown on what I've been thinking about. So I've been thinking a lot about like the current wellness trend that I think is kind of been going on for a couple years, I'd say, but it's been very popular in like specifically like this year and I think last year as well. And what I mean by wellness, just kind of like a rise in things like self-help books, a rise in like activities that are considered like good for you, like yoga, reading, eating healthy, exercising, stuff like that. Just like a rise in all those things, and also like something that coincides with this wellness trend is like the clean girl aesthetic. I think is also something that popularized this kind of drive for like wellness and health. Skincare has been very like popular lately, and I just wanted to talk about it a little bit because I think it's really interesting to notice trends, analyze trends, and kind of think about why things are trending right now. I just find it all really interesting. Trends specifically in fashion and beauty I'm really interested in, so I might talk about more stuff in the future regarding that, but for now I want to specifically look at the current wellness trend and the clean girl aesthetic thing. I think both are really interesting. So to begin with me talking about it, I just want to like kind of go over what was popular a couple years ago to kind of understand fully more why clean girl and like the current wellness trend is very popular right now. So a couple of years ago, like 2016, 2018, I think we saw more of like different things were popular back then. Like it's kind of crazy to look back on that kind of time period because totally different things were popular in terms of like music, like body types. First of all, that side note, I absolutely hate that body types are like trends. I really fucking do. But like, yeah, like specific body types were like trendier back then and things are changing now. It's makeup was like different. I think what was popular in terms of makeup was a lot different then. I mean, you had the matte liquid lipsticks. Y'all remember that? You had like the really like intense highlight. I still do that to this day. Yeah, like things were a lot different back then, and with trends I think a lot of them kind of follow this formula of being this pendulum. You know, it swings one way and then a couple years later it swings the exact opposite way, and I think that's kind of what we're seeing right now with like this current clean girl minimalistic trend that focuses on like skincare and like eating healthy, yoga, reading, wellness, you know, overall mental health wellness. When back then it was very like heavy makeup. There was a lot of consumerism back then, which there still is today. It's just it just looks different now. Because now I think we're having more conversations about consumerism and how much we consume and like sustainability. That's a very popular topic right now. So I think people are aware of it, but it still exists. It just looks slightly different. But back then in like the mid 2010s, consumerism was not really talked about. People were buying a lot, and you know, like you had like hauls that were very popular on YouTube. And then you had people, especially with makeup, I remember makeup was very like, people had a lot of it. It was like kind of like a lot. Like people would have like drawers and drawers and drawers full of makeup like on YouTube and stuff. And now we're kind of seeing this shift where instead of like drawers and drawers full of makeup, it's kind of cabinets with skincare products or like, you know, books or things that are like better I guess, better. I don't know, things that are more justifiable. It's still like consumerism, because it's like, you need this to feel better about your life, but it looks different. It's more of like in a wellness kind of cloak, if you will. But no, I'm not here to be like, you guys that are buying a lot of books, don't do that. It's a trap by capitalism, because I buy a lot of books. I love buying books, and I probably won't stop. But it's just to say that, like, now that we are having conversations about sustainability and how much we buy things, we're leaning away from buying stuff like a lot of clothes or a lot of makeup or like a lot of, you know, like things that are more like, are seen as less necessary for our well-being, I guess. Even though you could kind of say the same thing about like skincare and books. Like, I mean, you don't need to have like skincare products and books to be happy, but it's kind of under this guise that it's like better for you, so it's free reign to buy as much as you want. And like I said, like I do buy as much as I want. I buy shit tons of books. And I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just interesting. So let me talk about the clean girl aesthetic, if you're not exactly super aware of it. I'm kind of a little bit chronically online a little bit, so I am very full aware of what it is, but let me just talk about it a little bit. So the clean girl, or that girl, or whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of different names for it, is basically like somebody who has all their shit together. It prioritizes health and beauty, but in a natural way. It promotes like natural beauty. It's very much leaning away from what was popular in the 2010s with like the heavy makeup, and more leaning towards light makeup that enhances the features you already have, instead of like the kind of more transformative makeup that was popular in the 2010s. Like you had the power of makeup videos and like stuff like that in the 2010s, and now we're seeing more like natural, model off-duty kind of makeup that kind of leans more into one's natural physical features. And I'm just gonna take this moment to put my personal opinion. I don't think one's better than the other. I think heavy makeup is really fun, and I think it was a great outlet for people to like be creative on their face. But I also do like how this current like trend of like lighter makeup is more like more of your natural face. It's less about the transformation. It's less about the transformation and more about like, it's like your face, but like a little more enhanced. However, I will say that could itself be a flaw, because the type of clean girl looks that are popular right now, I mean, it does emphasize light makeup. However, it still has like this very it has like this box of what is like you should look like, basically, which is clear skin, you know, certain features, but clear skin really comes to mind. It's like, unless you have naturally clear skin, it's like, how are you gonna achieve this clean girl look with light makeup, with like just like a tinted lip balm and some mascara? You know what I mean? It's like as long as you have the features that coincide with what is popular with this look, it's like, you know, it's like you either have the features naturally, and if you don't, it's like, well, you won't look like Bella Hadid, but I guess you could still do it. It strives for a certain look, and it's like, it's either you got it naturally, or you're going to not look how the girls who do have these features and who are very like popular figures in this type of aesthetic, you're not gonna look like them, and it might make you feel like shit, you know, maybe. Like, that's basically kind of what the clean girl aesthetic is. It's also a lot of minimalism, which I think also is kind of a pendulum swing from what was popular in the 2010s, where you saw a lot of like overconsumption of things. You saw a lot of like hauls, you saw a lot of like stuff like that. And now it's just more popular for things to be more monotone, like having less things in general, for that clean look. And I want to talk about that in itself a little bit. This is going to be a very unorganized video. It's literally just me talking, but I think the term clean girl comes from like this popular comment that I would see a lot of times on TikTok, where people would be like, I can't describe why but she just looks clean. And they talk about their experiences, how like they always feel dirty, even if they're clean, like they kind of feel grimy all the time, but like some girls just look clean. I kind of hate that. I kind of hate it, because it's like, what does clean look like, really? I feel like it's just like this way of saying she has clear skin and like a paler complexion and like, I don't know, like all these features that are like, I don't know. What does clean look like? I think it also kind of refers to just the makeup style of like not having a lot of makeup on. You look cleaner that way. But I don't know. I've always kind of hated that terminology a little bit. Like, what? That's basically the clean girl aesthetic. I think the clean girl aesthetic really coincides with the wellness trend that we're seeing now, because the wellness trend is like what fuels the clean girl aesthetic. I mean, you see the clean girls, if you watch those type of videos on TikTok, you see them getting up at like 5 a.m. in the morning, doing yoga in their living rooms, making smoothie bowls, going out for runs, journaling, reading, wearing like these matching two-piece like athletic outfits. You see them in like the model off-duty claw clips. You see the makeup style I was talking about, the very minimal, dewy, natural glow, natural beauty, you know, kind of makeup, which, like I already talked about. I talked about like the things that are good about it, the things that might not be good about it. A couple things about the wellness trend, I keep calling it that, I don't really know what else to call it, that are a little bit like, let me complain about it real quick. A couple things I don't really like about it is it seems very unattainable, and that's kind of the case with a lot of trends, honestly, very unattainable. I feel like part of what makes a trend so trendy is the unattainableness of it. Like, not everyone can attain it, but if you can, good for you, you know? Like, I feel like that's kind of what makes a trend trendy a little bit, a little desirable. Specifically when it comes to wellness, I'm like, it gets to a point where it's kind of, okay, shut the fuck up, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Not to be a hater, but like, oh shit. Not to be a hater, but it gets to the point where it's kind of, are we really talking about wellness here, or are we just like pretending to be therapists right now? Like, it's kind of much. It's a little much. It gets to the point where it's kind of like, you're seeing all this advice, you're seeing all these things online about like relationships, mental health. I think there's been a rise in that lately, which is kind of a good thing, honestly. Like, it's great that like this kind of wellness trend that's happening right now is opening a lot of conversations about mental health and relationships, and I know that's been helpful for people. I mean, I'm sure it's been helpful for me, and actually it has been helpful to see like stuff like that, but it kind of like sometimes gets to the point where I think it becomes a little much. I think it's hard to differentiate advice online versus your actual life that is so complex, has a lot of nuance to it, that maybe you won't be able to apply all this advice to your life so neatly. I know for me, it's like I'll see something online and I'll think to myself, does this apply to my life? And like, I'm like thinking about my life, and I'm like, is this something I should think about? Like, is this something I should keep in mind? Or should I worry about like the problems I actually have, like that I know I have in my like real life, instead of worrying about like these things that I might not even have to worry about, or like these things that might not even apply to me, but they might. I don't know. I think there needs to be a bigger emphasis on like, hey, everyone's life is very different. There's a lot of nuance, there's a lot of complexity in everyone's lives, and what you see online might not reflect that, you know? It's great seeing advice online, and it's great seeing like people talk about things online that, you know, you probably wouldn't see otherwise. People don't really tend to talk about stuff like that in real life. I mean, unless you're like me. I like talking about like mental health stuff and things like that. But, you know, unless you know someone like that or you're like that, you're not really gonna see that shit. So, I mean, I think it's a good thing, but it also gets to the point where it's like, I don't know. I think talking about relationship advice online is very like, you should probably take it with a grain of salt, because relationships are very complex. And I think something the internet kind of like fails to mention a lot of the time is that like partners are not perfect, because no one is. Everyone has flaws. I don't know. So reading and yoga, like, and other activities like that, I feel like have gained a lot of popularity, specifically in the past 2 years. And I think that really does correlate with like this current like emphasis on like self-improvement and wellness, which is great. You know, it's great. I'm not trying to be a hater about this shit. It's just interesting to like see. It's interesting to see. Don't think I'm hating on this, because it's just interesting to see why and like notice that this is taking place. Personally, I think the whole like reading thing being popular is probably one of the best things that has happened with like trends. Because like, I know for me, I really enjoy reading, and I didn't start reading until like last year, but like last year. And before that, bitch, I never touched a book ever. Yeah, I'm really liking like the conversations that are springing up about books people are reading. And then you also have like Book Talk, which I hear is pretty shitty. I hear that they popularize shitty books on there, but you got Book Talk, and I think that's kind of proof of like how reading is becoming more popular in like today's spaces, which is great. I think that's probably one of the best things that has come from like this wellness trend. I think there's a lot of positive things that have come from this trend, but when it comes to trends, there's always negative things as well, and I'm here to talk about that too, because I love bringing up the negatives, but I want to emphasize that I think there are a lot of positives, and reading is definitely one of them. Like, bitch, reading can never be bad. That can never be bad for you. It's like eating vegetables. Like, it's just good for you. The fuck? And like with yoga, like, that's great. I do yoga sometimes, mostly when my body hurts though, because I find that it like alleviates the pain, like specifically like my back pain. Like when I have back pain, before I take like pain meds, if I can, I'll just do some yoga, and usually that helps, and then I won't have to take the pain meds. But if it doesn't work after that, then I just take pain meds. But yeah, like, I really enjoy yoga. I recommend it. If you guys are ever like, I'm bored, there's nothing to do, pull up like a 10-minute yoga video on YouTube, follow along. It makes my body feel so good. I'm like, I kind of want to do it every day, but I don't have the fucking, bitch, I do not have the patience to do that shit every day. And I have a short attention span, so I probably wouldn't, I only do it like a couple times a month probably. But yeah, like, it's just interesting to see that these things are gaining popularity. I think part of the reason why wellness and like self-improvement is becoming more popular is probably linked to the pandemic. I think while everyone was in quarantine, people were like, damn, what are we supposed to do with all this time? And I think the pandemic brought a lot of like sadness and feelings of like doom and hopelessness a little bit. Like, I'm trying to remember like specifically, I mean, we're still in the pandemic, but like, you know, like the beginning of it. I think it brought on a lot of feelings of like helplessness, a lot of like doom, because not only was there the pandemic, but then there's also like constant like political bullshit going on, you know, like constant stuff that the average person cannot control at all. So I think that linked with like other things happening creates this kind of feeling of helplessness, like, damn, I cannot do anything. And this kind of idea of self-improvement helps people feel more in control of their lives, I think. And not only that, but like self-improvement is just, that's appealing on its own. Like, who does not like the idea of becoming a better person, you know? So yeah, I think that's part of the reason why it's been very popular in recent years. Also, because of the pandemic, people had more time to start hobbies that are like very like self-care and like promote wellness, like reading, I mean like skincare, yoga, hobbies like crocheting, like stuff like that. Like all of that I think encapsulates what wellness is, because hobbies, you know, are important for wellness as well. Yeah. And because of the pandemic, I think people had time to start those things, which makes it easier to implant into your life even after like lockdown. Like, cause like I started reading probably shit, bruh, I don't remember. I mean, probably I started like trying to regularly read when I was in the psych ward, because I finished a book in there and I was like, this is great, I should do this more often. And then since then it's like it's easier to read now that I've like done it a little bit. Let's talk about the things I don't like about the wellness trend. I don't like the exclusivity of it. I think specifically, like, this is more to do with the clean girl aesthetic than the wellness trend as a whole. I like the wellness trend, but when it comes to clean girl, I do not like that, really. Just to clarify, I don't know if I'm being, bitch, I don't know how clear I'm being with this video, okay? I'm just talking my shit. I don't like clean girl that much, but I do enjoy like the idea of wellness being popular. I think that's fine. But let's talk about what I don't like though. I don't like the exclusivity. I think specifically clean girl promotes a very narrow idea of what wellness and health and self-improvement is, which is just very unattainable for the average working class person. I think the only people who can maybe realistically obtain this kind of lifestyle where you can get up at like 6 a.m, go on a run, you know, drink your smoothie bowl or whatever the fuck, do your yoga. The only people who I feel like can really realistically obtain that is like people who are paid to do that, like influencers and people who do social media, people who like that's their job, is to do that. Everyone else, specifically the working class, how the hell are you gonna do all that? Like, I feel like it requires a certain amount of wealth as well to do all those things, because if you look at like what they drink and what they eat, it's all very like Trader Joe's type beat. And I don't know about you guys, but I've never been to Trader Joe's in my life. I don't think I've ever even seen one. Maybe I've seen one, but I've never been in one. I probably won't go to a Trader Joe's just because I'm like, motherfucker, Walmart. Like, I never see the people in that video using like their Great Value pretzel chips or whatever. It's always like Trader Joe's for some reason. Smoothie bowls they make with like organic fruit. I don't know. Anyways, so, but also besides like the price of like the things they use, it's also like the time. Like I said, working class people do not have the time to do all that when like a third of their day is spent at work, you know, like, and then another third is spent sleeping. So really, like, how are you gonna do all that? It's kind of a privilege to be able to do all that, but you don't have to do all that to be healthy and to be happy. But it promotes that, I feel like it promotes this idea that like, by doing all this, you're gonna have your shit together. It kind of like shows people what they wish they could do in their day, but like, it's just not realistic. But for some people, the clean girl aesthetic can kind of be motivating, I guess, to start working out or just start doing yoga, to start eating healthier, whatever that might be. It could be inspiration for some people, so I don't want to like just shit on it and be like, this is bad. It is just bad. It is not any good. Because I mean, I can see how people would get inspiration from it for sure. I think personally though, it's just very white and wealthy. Like, it's too white and wealthy to look up to, in my opinion, as like not someone who's white or wealthy. So, but I can see how it could be motivating. Also, I got like shit up in my nose right now, so I kind of sound weird. So I'm gonna talk about both the clean girl aesthetic and just the general wellness trend right now. I think a bad thing about both of them that is, you know, a little something to think about maybe, is it kind of promotes this idea of like constant self-improvement, especially when you like follow stuff online that has to do with these things. Like, it kind of promotes this idea that you should try to be constantly self-improving yourself, which is like I guess it's not the worst thing ever, but as someone who kind of falls a little bit prey to this, it's kind of exhausting. It's kind of exhausting to feel like you have to constantly like try to get better like every day of your life. It gets pretty exhausting. It gets a little exhausting to see and to, you know, it's like, yeah, on one hand, self-improvement is great, you know, but too much of it, just like too much of anything, can just be overwhelming, exhausting. And I think something very important to note is that you are fine, like you are good just as how you are right now, you know, like if you stopped growing, if you stayed like this forever, you'd be fine. Like, we're not like, you know, held by gunpoint to grow and to constantly like change. I mean, that's just part of like life, is to grow like naturally, like that happens naturally. But when you try to force it, it's when you're constantly thinking about it and finding ways to like get better and better, it's just kind of much. I think there just needs to be a better balance. But when wellness is kind of this trendy thing right now, it's good, but then it's also like too much of it is a little much. It kind of makes me want to revert back to being like a 15-year-old who just kind of does shit to do shit, just because I'm tired of like I'm tired of like constantly analyzing myself and trying to like constantly get better, because I'm fine where I'm at right now. Who I am right now is good enough. I am good enough right now. I think a part of becoming obsessed with like self-improvement, a part of it leaves you kind of hating yourself a little bit at all times. It like takes away from your self-love, because you constantly feel like you're not good enough and like you could always be better. I know I struggle with that a lot. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, actually. I hold myself to a very high standard that I feel like I have to constantly work to meet. And I never actually meet it. And then at some point you just gotta be like, damn, I just gotta work on loving myself how I am right now. But it also feels a little ironic because I had to like come to that conclusion by analyzing myself and like trying to get better. So it's a little ironic. But fuck all that shit. Love yourself right now. That's the point I'm trying to make. Like, in an age where self-help books, self-help apps are becoming very popular, it's great, but in moderation, you know? Moderation is key. And I think it's really easy to get hooked on the idea of self-improvement and getting better, especially if you're like mentally ill like me. Like, the idea of getting better is very, very appealing. Like, that shit is like, give it to me, bitch. How? Oh, just read a book? Okay. Download an app? All right, I'll do it. You know, it's very appealing, but moderation is key, babes. All right, moderation is key, because that shit can get overwhelming. That shit can often leave you feeling disappointed about yourself if you're not immediately like seeing results or seeing changes. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. I'm gonna be real. I don't know if this video really makes sense. I don't know, bitch, I've never made a video like this before. And it's not like video essay style. I watch a lot of video essays, but this isn't supposed to be a video essay. It's just supposed to be me talking to an outlet. Because I just had all these thoughts and I didn't make like a script or anything. I just kind of wrote down stuff like to remember what I'm talking about, like little points I wanted to make, and I think I made all of them. I don't know. So I guess conclusion, clean girl aesthetic, fuck you. Just kidding. I mean, if you're into it, it's fine. Like, it's just not for me, I think. And I don't hate it. It's actually a little satisfying to watch those videos. I do occasionally get them. It's pretty satisfying, I'm not gonna lie. But it's unrealistic. And that's what's important to keep in mind. It's very unrealistic. Very extremely unrealistic. It's not attainable. So that's why I'm like, argh! The overall current like popularization of wellness and health and self-improvement, that's fine in moderation. That's the overall point I want to make. So just know, clean girl, unattainable. Wellness and self-improvement, great in moderation. All right, make sure you're loving yourself just how you are now. Taking a breather. Like, damn, life is hard and we don't have to be perfect. And I'm definitely like I said, I struggle with perfectionism. I don't know what you guys know about perfectionism. It's got me falling prey to this shit a little bit. I don't know if anyone else struggles with feeling like you have to be on the up and up when it comes to like getting better. What even is getting better? Much to think about. It's because it's also like normal. It's like a normal part of life to get better, to like have these highs and have these lows. That's literally inevitable. So no amount of like self-help books and self-help apps are going to prevent the eventual lows. Maybe they'll help, and that's great, but they're gonna happen either way. And I think it's easy to get caught up in like all the self-help and all like the self-improvement, and kind of it gets to the point where it might make you feel like shit about yourself, actually. Yeah, moderation is key. Moderation is key for a lot of things, but I think especially for self-improvement. It's important to love how you are right now and be like, you know what? where I am right now is good enough. If I stayed here, that'd be good enough. I don't have to keep going, but I will, because that's how life is, you know. You grow whether you want to or not, really. But loving how you are right now, I think, is really important. That's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. I just thought it was interesting because I can't really remember a time in my life where I think wellness was as popular as it is right now. Like, no. I think right now we're experiencing the most conversations around mental health, life, relationships, and it's great, honestly. I think it's great because, like, it's great to, like, be able to see what other people think and, like, what other people are experiencing, sharing knowledge, sharing advice. That's great. I think overall, though, you gotta keep in mind that, you know, your life is yours to live. So yeah. But overall, I think it's a good thing. And I'm interested to see what in a couple years it'll look like. I have a feeling, and I kind of feel it already, that there will be more of an era, like kind of what I was talking about, of just like complete self-acceptance. I can feel that coming. Like, I feel like that's gonna be what happens when the pendulum swings the other way from like self-improvement to total self-acceptance. That's what I think might happen. But I'm no trend predictor. I'm no, like, you know what I'm saying? But I think that's what's gonna happen. Maybe. I feel like that's what should happen, especially after so much like push towards self-improvement. Yeah, do this, do that. I think total self-acceptance, like radical total self-acceptance, I think that'd be great. And if that happens, then you heard it here first. Yeah, I have nothing else to talk about. Thanks for tuning into the Sick Pup YouTube channel. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, the notifications button. Stay tuned for more epic takes.